Okay, let's dive right into this explainer. If you've been watching the enterprise AI space at all lately, you've definitely noticed a massive bottleneck. We have these incredibly smart frontier models, right? But when you drop them into traditional HR or finance platforms, they stumble, hallucinate, and just flat out fail. Today, we're doing a deep McKinsey-style breakdown of exactly why that happens, and more importantly, how a company called Not a Black Box engineered a fundamentally new architectural substrate built around 6 core attributes to actually solve it. Quick look at our agenda for today. We'll start with the vibe coding illusion, then the system of record problem, the dual representation insight, those 6 core attributes, the enterprise claw architecture, and finally, the future of HR tech. Section 1, the vibe coding illusion, or the limits of generation. So Bill Fisher, the founder of Not a Black Box, uses this absolutely perfect analogy for why bolting AI agents onto traditional systems is a disaster. He points out that frontier AI labs have spent billions, literally billions, teaching models how to write and manipulate code. That is their superpower. But modern enterprise software? It's not code. It's screens, it's forms, it's dropdowns. As he says, you are taking the best coder in the world and forcing it to fill out a form, one click at a time in the dark. It's basketball in the sand. The athlete is elite for sure, but the court is fundamentally wrong. Which brings us to a crucial point. A model can easily generate thousands of standard UI screens, but it cannot clone an agent-native architecture simply because those deep enterprise substrate patterns don't widely exist yet. Think about it. You can vibe code a clean React front-end and a basic Postgres schema in a weekend. The AI has seen 10,000 CRUD apps, so making you the 10,001st is effortless. But a system of record that actually supports deep agent execution, that requires a totally new substrate pattern. You actually have to design it from the ground up. Section 2, the system of record problem and legacy moats. Traditional systems, think of giants like Workday, have incredibly complex databases. And honestly, they're designed as a competitive moat. This forces AI agents to blindly navigate screens that were built strictly for human cognition. I mean, Workday supports millions of configured workflows, decades of weird edge cases, regional compliance rules, proprietary languages, the whole shebang. That schema complexity is exactly why it costs upwards of $1 million just to implement. When you drop an AI agent into that environment, it has to climb this crazy labyrinth of API calls and human-facing screens, basically just crossing its fingers that nothing has changed since it last looked. Just look at the stark contrast in reliability and cost here. Let's say you ask a legacy system to fire an employee. Let's call him Bill. The agent has to figure out, wait, which Bill? Which table holds the data? What's the exact company policy? Who needs to approve this? It takes 12 to 20 brittle turns just navigating human UIs with a huge chance of failing. But in a code-form system, the agent just runs one single deterministic shell pipeline. It finds the record, applies a structured edit, and validates its work exactly like a human developer would. One turn. It's exponentially faster and infinitely cheaper. Section 3, the dual representation insight. One truth, two faces. So how do we fix this? By keeping a human legible database and a machine legible file system perfectly in sync. Nobody loses anything, and everybody gets the interface they are naturally best at using. This is the literal meaning behind the name Not a Black Box. The core insight is a bidirectional synchronization engine. When the agent updates the code set artifact, boom, the change instantly propagates to the human-facing UI. And when an HR admin clicks a button on their dashboard, it instantly rewrites the agent's code file. Same data, same business rules, but two distinct lenses. Now, you might naturally be wondering, if the agent has access to the database schema, why not just give it SQL? It's honestly the smartest pushback against this whole architectural framework. If the AI is so incredibly good at coding, just give it SQL access to the backend database and let it write queries to change whatever it wants, right? Well, here's the answer. Dropping an agent at the SQL layer completely bypasses years of carefully constructed compliance policies. It is completely unsafe for enterprise use. You see, fired isn't just flipping a status flag to inactive in a database. It means payroll is notified, access is revoked, audit logs are written. SQL gets you the row, but it completely skips the policy. On the flip side, building a bespoke tool for every single action is just too brittle. So the Goldilocks zone is a code-form system protected by a serializer. Think of the serializer like a bouncer at a club. The agent can read anything it wants in the file system, but the second it tries to write a change, the bouncer steps in, checks the company policy rules, and either accepts or rejects it. Section 4, the 6 core attributes. Let's look at the system blueprint. To actually move beyond simple AI copilots and create a robust self-learning system of record, Not a Black Box engineered 6 core attributes. We just covered the dual represented substrate. Let's quickly hit the others. The self-learning middleware is fascinating. It actually remembers successful runs. So a hard HR problem that it solves on Tuesday, it solves it cheaper and faster on Thursday. Then there's the Deep Agent framework, which gives agents persistent memory and planning so they don't just crash after 6 steps. And this all culminates in the Talent Claw OS Enterprise layer, which we'll cover in just a minute. But first, let's zoom in on attributes 3 and 4. Attribute 3 is GSD mode, or Own It mode. Instead of abandoning a task when it hits a roadblock, an agent in GSD mode takes full ownership of the workflow all the way through to completion. Most automations today, they do the easy 80% and then immediately ping a human when they hit an approval gate. GSD, which stands for Get Stuff Done, is totally different. The agent holds the goal, it navigates the state machine, it waits for the manager to approve the budget, and actually follows up 3 days later if they haven't. It drives the outcome to the finish line. Humans just intervene or override, but the agent actually owns the momentum. And Attribute 4 is a self-evolving codebase. This is a system that literally writes its own next module. It adapts to unique enterprise edge cases without needing human developers at all. Because let's face it, a static schema can never support every single global talent workflow. So the system extends itself. It uses sandboxed, jailed agents whose only job is to write new code for the platform. When a new function is needed, these jailed agents build the support, test it, and merge it safely under incredibly strict governance. You aren't just writing an app anymore. You're writing the thing that writes the app safely forever. Section 5, the Enterprise Claw Architecture. This brings us to claws. A claw shifts AI from being a passive assistant into an active enterprise operator. In the enterprise market right now, these claws represent a massive platform shift. They aren't just little chat windows sitting to the side of your software. They are persistent agents that live inside the application. They're sending emails, updating records, coordinating with other tools, and taking real, bounded actions on behalf of your employees. Crucially, what we are looking at here is a dynamic org chart of coordinating agents, rather than one giant monolithic bot trying to do everything alone. This is the real magic of the Talent Claw OS. You spin up highly specialized claws. So a sourcing claw hands off a short list of candidates to a candidate claw. That candidate claw then negotiates calendar times with an interview panel claw, and sitting directly in the middle of all of this is a compliance claw, monitoring and enforcing real-time policy rules on every single interaction, making absolutely sure no hiring laws are ever violated. Section 6, the future of HR tech, a true paradigm shift. As you can see on this table, the entire competitive landscape is going to transition. We're moving away from building deeper user interfaces and moving toward providing secure orchestration and trusted governance. Think about today's ATS. It entirely relies on humans clicking through screens. But in the claw-enabled future, the UI becomes totally secondary. Humans simply set the goals, and the agents complete the steps, only flagging exceptions when necessary. The vendor's competitive moat completely flips. It's no longer about who has the deepest UI features. It's about who has the best, most trusted data model to let AI act safely. Of course, because HR systems handle highly sensitive data, this massive shift is only possible with a deeply secure infrastructure that ensures AI agents cannot go rogue or bypass business rules. We're talking about personally identifiable information, compensation data, massive legal exposure. The stakes are huge. This is exactly why infrastructure like NVIDIA's OpenShell and NemoClaw are becoming so vital. They provide the secure runtime environments that enforce network security, privacy, and policy-based guardrails. Because without robust audit logs, explainability, and strict limits on autonomous action, enterprise buyers will literally never hand over the keys to the system. So as we rethink the underlying fabric of enterprise software, I'll leave you with this question. Will the next great system of record be a traditional workflow app, and agent control plane, or both? Are we actually witnessing the death of the destination app as we know it? Because if an agent can seamlessly execute your goals in the background on a dual represented substrate, do we even need the screens anymore? Or do they just become the audit logs for the work the agents have already finished? It is a fascinating architectural frontier and one that will undoubtedly define the next decade of enterprise software. Thanks for joining me for this explainer.